Airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck. Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. That's it in! 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
All right, everybody, welcome inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider is brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. A good show today as we look ahead towards a big basketball game tonight, a big basketball game tomorrow, and another big one on Sunday. Terry Jonz, the voice of women's basketball, joined us earlier today. We'll play you that interview in about 10 minutes or so as we preview that matchup with the Sun Devils later this evening. We do have to get to what happened yesterday. We're just going to confront it head on and talk about the loss in Boulder last night for Oregon men's basketball, and it wasn't pretty. 68-41. I'll take you through some of the numbers. Oregon, well, they shot 27% from the field, 7% from three-point range, 57% from the line. That's not going to do it. Basketball is a game of runs. Colorado had more runs than Oregon, and they led it by as much as 20 points in the first half. They had multiple runs of 7-0. So Oregon fell behind. The shot just wasn't falling. Shooting tends to be contagious, and, well, it was contagious in a bad way for Oregon yesterday. Got to credit the Buffaloes, though, because they enter that game yesterday. They needed a win, and they were missing their leading scorer, KJ Simpson. Credit to Tristan Da Silva, that forward center. I don't know what you'd call him. He was matched up against Mfali Dante for a large part of that game, and, well, that young man had the game of his life, a career-high 30 points. He was hitting threes. He was rebounding the ball. He had a couple steals as well. He looked like an NBA forward to me. I really didn't know he could shoot the ball, but you look at his numbers, he's a 36% three-point shooter. As we pivot to the bright side, you look at Quincy Guerrier scoring 10 points, leading the Ducks in scoring. That's 3 straight double-digit games of scoring for Quincy Guerrier. We saw the Oregon debut of Ethan Butler getting out there for a few minutes. And then a surprise to me, Jermaine Cousinard rehabbed hard, and he was able to get back into the lineup yesterday. His first action of the season, a transfer from South Carolina. So he really hadn't practiced much, and you kind of think about that. It's hard to gel on the fly with the team, but at least good to see him get to the line 7 times and score 9 points. Remember, he's a player who comes from the SEC and was a pretty potent scorer in maybe the best basketball league as soon as last year. So I'll get out of your way for a second. Let's hear from Dana Altman. He met with Joey on the post-game show on the radio side of things yesterday. Dana Altman on the disappointing loss in Boulder.
Coach, I know that's a tough one. What was the message to the guys in the locker room tonight?
Well, we got beat 18 on the boards. No communication defensively. It's an embarrassment. I can't put it any other way. Will was off tonight, and so our whole team was off, and we just couldn't get anything going. But I know the guys, are embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. You don't get beat 18 on the boards. We had 3 assists for the game, which I think is a low for the time we've been here, and we don't hit any free throws to even keep us in the game. We go 50% from the line. We go 12 for 21 and 2 or 3 front ends of 1-on-1. So totally embarrassed. Just didn't compete.
Chance to bounce back in a hurry, too.
Yeah, and Utah is a really good team. We're going to have to play a heck of a lot better than we would have had to tonight. I'm not taking anything away from Colorado, but supposedly Utah is a better team. And we embarrassed, ourselves tonight. Again, I apologize to the fans there, whoever watched the game, ESPN too. It was as bad as we could play, and again, things we can control. 18 on the boards, didn't pick, didn't move the ball, just stuck in the mud all night. Free throws, things that you can control a little bit. We didn't control.
Here's to getting out of the mud, and we'll catch up with you again heading into Utah.
All righty.
So yeah, there's Dana Altman meeting with Joey on the radio side of things, pointed out a couple really damning statistics in yesterday's loss, and I think the big one for me is 3 assists, not a lot of movement on the offensive side. Still, though, if you look at the standings in the Pac-12, we'll start with the scores here in the Pac-12. Oregon's going to be in decent shape moving forward. So UCLA and Utah, those are the top 2 teams in the conference. They hold serve. Look at that Utah score, 79-60 over Oregon State. That's a big win for Utah as they remain undefeated in conference play. It's the first time Utah has started 5-0 in the Pac-12 since 2011-2012. They get a career-high 27 points from Brandon Carlson. He's a 7-footer who Oregon's going to see tomorrow, who is a 40% three-point shooter. So, in a way, seeing Tristan Da Silva yesterday actually could be pretty good preparation for seeing Brandon Carlson, the 7-foot lethal shooter, tomorrow. So, as we pivot over to the standings, Utah and UCLA lead the conference at 5-0. UCLA is 14-2 overall. How about Arizona digging deep yesterday? They improved to 3-1 in the conference, a 70-67 win over Washington. And by the way, Washington was up big in that game yesterday. So they're 3-1. Arizona State is 3-1, and then Oregon's right there, 1 game back in the loss column of second place in the conference. If you can go to Utah, who right now is one of the best teams in the conference, well, all of a sudden you leave the Mountain Road trip with a split, and things are looking up before a big weekend at Matthew Knight Arena next week. So a disappointing loss. There's no way around it, but a chance to put that behind you tomorrow against a good Utah team. So let's move over to women's basketball. A big game tonight, a huge game on Sunday. Was able to catch up with Terry Jonz, who put all sorts of storylines into perspective for us. That's going to be on the other side of this break. We talked about returners to Phoenix, I guess a revenge game for a transfer from Arizona State. That's all coming. Terry Jonz joining us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Duck Insider Studios. Happy you're with us here on a Friday afternoon. Big game tonight against Arizona State. Terry Jonz joined us via Zoom to preview it. And here's Terry. Okay, big game tonight, and we're talking with the voice of women's basketball, Terry Jonz, ahead of the 5 p.m. bout with Arizona State. Terry, looking forward to listening to you on the call, listening to you on the pregame show. We have time to get to basketball. First, though, it's been a while. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How was the New Year? What's going on? Good to see you again.
It was great, back and forth to San Diego with women's basketball before the holiday.
Not a bad
Christmas.
Place to spend the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't bad. And then came back and then back down with football the day after Christmas. And like Rob Mullins down with football, he said, "Jerry, you should have just stayed." I said, "Well, I hadn't put the Santa suit on for all the grandkids, so I had to get back for Christmas. It was a must." I think my wife would have drove down and gotten me if I didn't fly back. So, yeah, but it was great. Great time with family, and hopefully everybody had the same.
I bet your ho-ho-ho is as good as anybody's in the Eugene area. Am I right about that?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, when you got the full suit on, my little 3.5-year-old grandson, he's starting to look at me as all, because I've done this for however many years. My oldest daughter is 38 years old, and she could remember when I started looking at the eyes and going, I think Dad is Santa Claus. So I think my little grandson, 3.5-year-old, starting to look at me like, boy, that looks like Poppy. I don't know. So it's.
Yeah, I think you got a couple.
But it's fun.
1 or 2 more years until he truly cracks the code on that one.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, before we get to basketball, let's talk a little football. Kind of closing the book on Dan Lanning's first season this week, and you're around the team all year. You're part of the pregame coverage for the team. How do you think you're going to remember this season? What are your takeaways from year one under Coach Lanning?
I think it was very, very positive. I mean, I think if Bo Nix didn't go down late in the Washington game, who knows?
Yeah,
we may have been playing, in the semifinals, and who knows? Look at TCU getting there. It could be in the finals. But after going 49-3, losing to Georgia, I never thought the Ducks would win 10 games. I mean, as badly as they look, Georgia's pretty good, obviously. But I think Georgia was on their game, and everybody's ready for Oregon. I mean, in fact, Coach Graves and I were talking about even today, just Oregon comes to town, no matter what sport, everybody's up for it. The fans are up for it, the team you're playing. And it was the same thing. I think Georgia was up for Oregon, and quite frankly, Oregon laid an egg and didn't look good. But if you look back on it and you think positively, I remember talking with then offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham after that game, and the Ducks moved the ball. Mm-hmm. Against Georgia's defense. They just didn't finish drives. And I'm not saying they would have won the game, and I'm not saying even they would if they were in the playoffs. But it would have been more respectable. But I think it was a remarkable coaching job by Dan Lanning and this coaching staff to do what they did after that game, because let's face it, that could go the other way very easily. And it didn't. And they came back and just kept getting better and better and better all season. Now, disappointing the way it ended in the rivalry game up in Corvallis, especially when you had a 31-10 lead with 4 minutes and something left in the third quarter. You should be able to finish that. But then the great and exciting win down in San Diego that they got against North Carolina. I mean, it was a great way to finish. And I'm glad they did finish with a win. It would have been tough, losing 3 out of your last 4 games. That would have been a tough finish. And that put a little bit, brighter finish to it for the team and for the fans and for everybody. And then with knowing Bo's coming back and going to be healthy, and then just signing a phenomenal recruiting class in the early signing period that I think everybody, the fans and the coaching staff, everybody's just pretty fired up about what is coming in year number 2 for Dan Lanning. But, A+, I think, for his first year as a head coach.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think you do a good job of pausing at that moment, remembering how Duck fans were feeling after that Georgia game, and then, to tell Duck fans at that point that they're going to win 10 games that season. I think everybody takes it. And by the way, Dan Lanning is just one of 2 first-year Oregon head coaches to win 10 games, and the other one, the next season. Well, I think Oregon fans remember that was one of the best seasons in Oregon history. So that encore for year 2, I think, should get Duck fans excited for Dan Lanning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's remarkable to think back that 2000 was the first year in Oregon football history to win 10. Now, they used to only play 10 games, 9 games actually, and then 10, and they got to 11 and then 12. But that's the 13th 10-win season for Oregon football since 2000. I mean, that's 13 out of 22. That's
not bad.
That's pretty good.
He could do worse.
That's pretty good. You know, so just remarkable. He's a great guy, very likable, knows what he's doing. Kudos to him, and he's fun to work with. And I think the fans like him. I think the players like him. And obviously he knows how to recruit. And he knows what it takes to get that ring, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So pivoting over to women's basketball, big game tonight, big weekend in the desert. It's never easy to play in the desert against Arizona State, right? They haven't beaten them, I think, the last 2 times down there. I think maybe you can correct me on that stat. But a big game tonight against Arizona State. And, let me just ask you, what makes it so difficult to go down to the desert? You've been down there with the team a few times. Why is it hard to win down there?
You're on the road, first of all, but that, goes anywhere. But Arizona State over the years has been very, very tough. You're absolutely correct. Now, Charlie Turner-Thorne recently retired, but she is always, the tough defense. And, some would say, well, it's the type of defense, foul the heck out of them because they're not going to call the ball. And I would be one of those that would agree with that. Now, a new coach in Natasha Adair, excuse me, that came from Delaware, but she gets after it defensively too. Maybe not the same style of Charlie Turner-Thorne, but it's, they don't have big crowds. I think with the sunshine, not everybody wants to come inside and watch women's basketball. But, I don't know. I think this team might be a little bit different, but you never know. I know over the years, this is my 18th year calling women's basketball, but coming down there, many times we had the better team. Oregon was the better team, and you would walk away with a loss. In fact, you mentioned, you're correct, the last 2 that we lost, and in 2020, that was Sabrina Ruthie Satu's senior year. The Ducks were coming in ranked number 2, had, I believe it was a 7-point lead with something like 4 or 5 minutes left, and lost that game. As Arizona State, uncharacteristically for that Arizona State team, hit a couple of big threes, maybe even 3 of them, if I remember correctly, and got past the Ducks and won that game. Last year, the Ducks lost down here. They just didn't shoot the ball well. And this year, hopefully the team isn't overlooking Arizona State, as they're 0-3 in the conference, 7-7 overall, that not overlooking Arizona State and thinking about that matchup with number 15 Arizona on Sunday. Because, if you do, Arizona State is capable. I think this is about as deep as far as talent, where the lower half of the conference has risen up a little bit. So this conference is as deep, I think, as it's been. Arizona State, Cal down at the bottom, but they're capable of beating you. And one of the big ones is Ty Skinner that came to from Delaware with Coach Adair to Arizona State, 38% for threes. Now she shoots 38% for twos, so it's going to be interesting. She's only 5'5", but very quick, good ball handler. And it's good, you're probably going to try and run her off the 3-point line, but then she can get inside and score. But shooting 38% overall, it makes me wonder if she gets inside and you got big 6'8" Filipina Che waiting for you, whether they try that tack, try to get Philly in foul trouble, or Philly causes a lot of problems, which I think would be more likely to happen, and make her think twice after she gets a couple slap back in her face. But we'll see about that. But you're right; it's just a tough place to play. It's going back several years ago, and sometimes we just would scratch our head. I guess kind of like the men going to Colorado that we saw last night. You go down there to Arizona State, and you don't play your best. They do. They get after it, and and hey, let's face it, the Oregon brand, whatever sport it is, coming into town, everybody's up for it, and it's no different here.
So one of the storylines for tonight, Taya Hansen returning to Arizona State, right? She had a great career there. A great stat is that she started her last 51 games as a Sun Devil. Hopefully she gets greeted by the crowd fondly. We'll have to wait and see. Kind of a unique return because there's a new coach, a lot of roster turnover. But I want your perspective on this. I think Taya Hansen's had to sacrifice a lot coming to Oregon. She's not starting for the Ducks, and yet it's now starting to finally click, I think, with her. She's coming off, by far, I think, her best game of the season. So do you have any insight on that, just the sacrifice that she's had to go through here, and the fact that she's turning it into an enormously positive situation, and she's turning into a weapon off the bench for the Ducks?
Yeah, you've nailed it there, Jordan. First of all, she's a great kid. Just always happy and joyful around this team and leadership. And she did sacrifice coming off the bench and just, playing, 17 minutes a game, where she'd, although at Arizona State, Charlie Turner Thornton didn't play a lot more than that, maybe 22, 24 minutes a game because she rotated. There was like hockey substitutions that she would do. But for her to come here, and Coach talked about that actually on Tip-Off Tuesday, that what a sacrifice. And she's still just a smile and a leader, one of the leaders on this team. And there's several leaders on this team, which is pretty remarkable with, India Rogers and Tahina Pau, and, everybody's following. And Taya, I talked with Taya, I think in the post game, she was with Bev and me after the USC went and asked her about, mentorship, and that, when she was a freshman at Arizona State, she was mentored by some of the veterans there that ended up became lifelong friendships. She said she was even in some of their weddings. So it's, and she takes that very seriously. And she says, I've got an open door with all these youngsters. If they have something to talk about, whether it's basketball related or not, they can come to me. And I think Indy and Tahina are pretty much the same way. But I think Taya's a little more open, little more open personality that I think you'd feel more welcome maybe talking to her. But I don't know. I think they do. The youngsters talk to everybody and feel that leadership from those big three. But to sacrifice that, I wondered about that. But I think she's coming from Arizona State that was more defensive oriented to now she's coming to play for Kelly Graves, who's more offensive oriented. So she's getting a little bit more open looks in the offense. In fact, she talked the other day about, coming off ball screen. She'd never done that at Arizona State. She's had to learn that. And I think, like I said, I think she's getting some open looks that maybe she didn't have before because we're working on the offense. We want to score some points. The Ducks want to score in the 70s and 80s. And she's getting some open looks. And I always thought she could shoot better than her career average. Coming in her career average, let's see, 29% last year, but her career average, I think, is something like 32, 33%, if I'm not mistaken. But now she's shooting almost 45% for threes this year and made 21 threes already. But, and that just gives you confidence. But she works on a shot, and if you look at her shot, it's a great looking shot. I mean, it's probably a little bit unfair to compare it to going back to the old Duck fans will remember Taylor Lilly, where the spin on the ball, the way it came off her hand, you just felt like you were surprised that any of them didn't go in. And she's kind of has that kind of looking shot. It's just a good looking shot, a little bit like Aaron Boley, kind of quick release too, and that nice rotation on the ball. And she's capable, like she just did, going 5 of 7 for threes against USC, and just USC was getting buried anyway, and she just put another shovel of dirt on them and hitting some more threes. And by the way, I don't think everybody realizes what a good win that is USC was coming in with just 2 losses in that game. Have gone down to the wire against UCLA. That's a very good team that probably, even though they aren't ranked, they're kind of like a top 25 team. And the Ducks just took it to them. Now, USC had to face a Duck team that was a little ticked off, but the way they played against UCLA. But that's what this team can do. And hopefully we'll see that tonight. Coach has talked about, consistency so much this year. And I think that's what he wants to see tonight. Come out, dig in defensively like you did against USC. And, look, the Ducks are a better team than this Arizona State team, but they got to go out and prove it every time. And if they come out and dig in defensively, it really seems to get them going. The old defense gets the offense going. And it really seems to be true with this group of players. And they like to play defense. But you have a young team. And, again, first conference road trip. And other than going to Southern, where they overwhelmed Southern, they were just a much better team. It's their first true road game and facing against opposing fans. So, and they'll really face a big crowd coming up Sunday at Arizona. But first you got to take, Coach always says, you can't get a sweep unless you win the first one. So take care of the first one first, and then head to Tucson tomorrow and start thinking about Arizona. But hopefully they're locked in. They're a loose bunch. We just had shoot around a little bit ago. Just a good feeling amongst the team, and that's always good to see.
Part 2 with the great Terry Jonz coming up after this break. Let's get out of here for a little on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider is brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Let's get back to Terry Jonz previewing tonight's game and then the big one on Sunday against Arizona. Here's Terry. Speaking of good-looking shots, I'm looking at India Rogers' numbers this year from 3 up to 48%. That's up from 32% last year. You know, my eye test tells me that she's taken a big step this year. Is that a big part of it? What else is it for India Rogers this year?
Yeah, it is. And quite honestly, some moves, a little sidestep, on her shot. There's been some things. I asked her, I said, somebody went to work in the summer. And she smiled. She goes, yes, I did. She goes, I worked on my 3-ball. I said, and I've seen some little moves that weren't there a year ago. And she goes, yep. She goes, went to work. And you know what? That's what the great ones do. you get better in the summer, not during the season. And a lot of players don't understand that, and it's in the summer, you're tempted, especially if you're from California or somewhere that there's a beach nearby that the sand is nice and warm, and you want to go do that instead of work on your game. And give credit to Indy. She went to work and has made herself even better. She was already pretty good. But one of the things is that 3-point shooting where, she's got confidence in it. I don't know if she can stay up around 48, 50% for the season. I don't know about that, but hopefully she will. I think, too, this team with Tahina's floor game, maybe Tahina's not shooting as well as she's capable of as well. But then you got Grace Van Slooten, who I don't think as a freshman was going to be such an impact player as she has coming in. And then, of course, Philly. I mean, Philly's just growing by leaps and bounds. Seems like every minute she's on the floor, and we forget about that. This team lost Sedona Prince right before the season, and then a defection by one of the freshmen you were counting on that went and kind of left the team in a lurch, which is still a little bit of a head scratcher, but it's left this team shorthanded. But, when you got the short bench, the players will develop more quickly when you've got a lot of youngsters. Philly, still just a sophomore and hasn't played a lot of basketball in her lifetime, is still just learning the game. But they're able to develop a little bit faster because they're getting reps, and they're getting live reps out on the floor against other teams too. And as Coach said the other day, you wouldn't see Philly doing what she's doing if Sedona was still here, because Sedona would be the focus. You probably wouldn't see Grace Van Slooten developing as quickly because again, some others would be the focus. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, there is a risk, obviously, with having a short bench. No doubt about that. I mean, you get an injury. Elise Hurst, by the way, was doing a little bit and shoot around today, so we'll see. I would say she's probably in the questionable department for the game tonight. We'll see. It would be nice, but they've got it's a small group, but they've got a good group, don't they? I mean, and you get to this point of the season, most of the time, if it's a close game, you're probably going 7 or 8 deep. I mean, if you look at UConn, Gina Oriem, a lot of times at this point of the season is going 6, and maybe 7. So it's just interesting. But seeing this team develop is pretty fun. But back to India, which you talked about, that's what a veteran does.
Yeah,
she's got a goal in mind, what she wants to get done, and she went to work and improved her total game. I think even defensively, you watch her, and Tahina too defensively. That both of them are playing defense pretty good. And Chance Gray, how about her as a true freshman? Maybe your best on-ball defender.
Yeah.
Their best guard, you put a freshman on her.
So you talk a lot about growth there, and to me that's one of the themes of the season, whereas last year maybe Oregon peaks early and then tails off at the end of the season. I think Coach Graves, it's important that maybe it goes the other way around, which I think is a perfect transition to Grace Van Slooten. Where is the growth going to come in her game? Because she already is so mature. I think UCLA is a perfect example where, the Bruins come out, they have a perfect game plan for her in the first half, but she wasn't to be denied in the second half and puts together one of the best individual halves of the season. So where is that next step for her and I guess the rest of the team?
Well, I think for Grace is getting used to being double teamed and the focus of everybody that you are the focus. They feel like if they stop you and make somebody else beat them, that's quite a compliment for her. But she is starting to figure that out, and she's a remarkable kid. That you watch her and Taylor Hosadove, and I told Coach this. I said, they have one on that volume meter, that speed meter, or how hard you got to play meter, and it's just full blast, and that's all they know. And she plays so hard that she can overcome much of that. But she's pretty smart, too. You can't try and force things when you get a double team. And she's shown that she's a pretty good passer. So, I think she's just going to have to learn with that because she's never had to deal with that before, I gather even in high school. So, as that growth comes, and that's just going to, and she gets better at that, that's just going to make the team better. You got to make teams pay for double teaming, right? Mm-hmm. You just do. And when you have some some other weapons, then you got to make sure you use them. I mean, when you double team her and she dishes out to a 3-shooter like Taya Hansen, Elise Hurst, Tahina, India, they got to knock them down enough to make teams pay for that. So she's remarkable. She's just a delightful young woman, really is.
So I'll leave you with this one. I'm sure you'll get into it a lot more on the broadcast tonight, but just looking ahead for a second to Sunday's big one against Arizona, a chance for a signature win that, honestly, at this point in the season, I think this group kind of lacks. So what's it going to take to get that one done on Sunday? I think KG did a good job of squashing the rivalry rumors between him and Coach Barnes, but I mean, that's going to be must-see TV, must-listen radio on Sunday when the Ducks take on the Cats.
Yeah, tough place to play, just like it is when teams come into Matthew Knight Arena. The fans are rabid. They love their team, and it's going to be tough down there, no doubt about it. And again, like wherever Oregon goes, whatever sport, everybody wants to win. And, of course, it'd be a big win because, Oregon not too long ago, won the Pac-12 regular season championship 3 years in a row. And everybody remembers that, and everybody remembers getting thumped pretty good by Sabrina Ruthie's and Sawtooth teams over the years. So they want to do that. But then, there is a little bit of I don't know. I think it's more so with the fans than it is between the two coaches.
Mm-hmm.
After that little incident, I shouldn't even call it an incident, that got publicized. I think he got overblown. And when we came down there and then, watched the two coaches, Coach Adia Barnes and Kelly Graves, and they met at half court and, and embraced and talked and laughed. And it was no big deal to them. But I think, the fans, but, hey, that's fine to make it more fun. And make it more fun if you do get the win down there and quiet them, just like teams like to do to our Matthew Knight Arena fans. No doubt about that. But a tough place to play. But, yeah, signature win, it would be. They're number 15. Ducks are number 18. So it'd be a big win. And, look, you got to say Stanford in the conference if you just want to look at the standings. Hopefully they won't go undefeated. I don't think they will. I think there's enough good teams in this conference that, they got to have a bad day at some point and, somebody have a good day. But I think that the next 4 teams, and you got Oregon, UCLA, Arizona, and Utah, who is really good. And Oregon State, you might start throwing them in there. And Colorado's not far, and USC's right there as well. Just talking about the depth. But I think the next 4 teams behind Stanford, it's going to be, who's going to take second, who's going to take fifth kind of thing. So that would be a big win just looking at that part. If the Ducks could get a sweep down here in the desert. And look, they got to make up for that UCLA loss at home. That hurts. And you didn't want to get a sweep, and they made sure they be swept at home to start the conference early in the conference. But that was a big win against USC. But so you got to make it up on the road and get one maybe some of your competitors might not get. So that would be one in Arizona.
He's Terry Jonz on the call, 5 o'clock tonight, Arizona State, Sunday at 4 o'clock against Arizona on the Oregon Sports Network. Terry, always appreciate the time. Thank you, and can't wait to listen to you tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jordan. Go Ducks.
There's Terry. Always good stuff from him. You can listen to him tonight on the call. Up next, Kelly Graves met with the media, and he discusses that tough road trip to the desert. That's after this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans! The official 2022 Oregon football trading cards are now available exclusively at your local Oregon Jackson's food stores. The cards feature over 100 of your favorite Duck football student athletes from the 2022 season. Each pack contains 14 cards, and 1 out of every 10 packs will contain a special edition signed card, so be sure to collect them all to complete your set. Visit Jacksons.com for store locations.
Jacksons. Let's go.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insiders brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Before we get to KG, wanted to just give you a message from Hoodoo. Hey, Duck fans, ski season will be here before you know it. Visit skihoodoo.com for the latest updates on the upcoming season, including preseason sales, deals, and events for the entire family. Hoodoo Ski Area is your locally owned and operated destination for winter fun and a proud supporter of Oregon athletics. Head of the trip to the desert, Kelly Graves met with the media. His comments.
Any chance of a lease on this trip?
I don't know. There's a trainer over there. I don't know if she ever goes on camera, but we're hoping so. If she does go, it'll probably be Sunday in a limited role. Yeah, she did not practice today, so.
This is always a trip where I know they made a coaching change at ASU, but one thing that stayed true is they foul a lot. They both foul a lot, and they both foul more than almost anyone in the league. How do you prepare for that reality?
Well, yeah, they're both aggressive, no question about that. We've just played 2 aggressive defensive teams, so we're kind of have seen it. And now we have some practice guys, so we can actually play against it. And I think we'll be ready for that. I think with us, it's just, keep the floor spaced, keep doing what we do, move the basketball, and I think we'll be fine. But, yeah, anytime you go to the desert, you got to take care of the ball. That is emphasis number 1.
How important is this trip in that sense, Kelly? Because, historically, one of the things about this team, particularly the last 2 years, was if teams wanted to beat you up, they stood a much better chance of winning. And last year, you were 4-4 against teams that fouled, I think, at least 16 times. And these are 2 teams who are going to foul at least 16 times. And just to see that this group has the mettle to handle that.
Well, the one thing that I do like out of this group is we're getting to the line a lot more than we have over the last several years. So I don't think the contact is going to affect us as much. I think we have more playmakers. We have people, that can create their own shot that we haven't had in the past. And so teams that do try to, get physical with you, I think we're a little bit more equipped for that this year, a little less finesse. I think we're getting to the line as much as anybody. How about the flip? We were last in the conference in free throws non-conference, and now we're first in conference. So it's just a matter of, I think, getting the right people to the line. But I like how we've been aggressive, and you need to be when you're playing down there.
First true road experiences for this team. I know that, I guess they played at Southern as well, but how do you think you're prepared? How does that change? A lot of younger players maybe haven't been there before.
Yeah, kind of crazy to think that this is really just our second true road game, and we're in January. I don't know. I hope we, handle it well. I don't know. I thought we played pretty well at Southern. To me, Arizona State's going to be really excited to be at home. Same with Arizona State. Well, Arizona's played a conference game at home, but Arizona State hasn't. So they haven't been home in a while. So this is going to be a big game, I think, for them. And we better be ready right from the get-go. But I don't know. I'm assuming that we'll travel well, and I sure hope so.
Philly as a passer, even as the three-point line on a couple of those backdoor cuts, that's something you've seen developing, or kind of Walk us through a little bit of that.
It's kind of funny. She made a couple of those today in practice, and I mentioned it. She's becoming quite a really good passer out there from the high post. And I think our players are doing a better job of reading the cut, the backdoor cut. So, yeah, both have to be in sync for that to happen. But I think Philly is just showing us that she's improving, each and every day. I think we're seeing it right before our very eyes. So, gets to the line the other night, hits her free throws, a couple assists, her block shots are going up. She's being smarter defensively, and then obviously 20 rebounds. That's pretty significant. So it's great to see her development.
What's made Skinner so effective this season?
Well, she's got the green light. And, and she gets on a roll. That's why I think Arizona State's really dangerous, because if Skinner is making baskets and there's really no defending her. I mean, if you look at her Stanford game or Arizona game, she was making shots over teams that were game planning for her. It's just one of those. You just hope she has one of those nights where she's off a little bit, but she's so quicker than maybe anybody that we have. And so it's, we're just going to have to do it by committee, and we're going to have to help on ball screens and those kind of things. But she's a good player. She's the transfer from Delaware, right? Came with the coach. So she's comfortable with the coach, knows the system, and it shows. But she's not the only person on that team. Treasure Hunt's had a really nice league season, and a good player, heck of a catch and shoot shooter, and then the returner. Number 2, I'm bad with names. Number 2, a heck of a player. So a good compliment, those guards to each other.
Having had a little time, what you see from Kennedy in 9 minutes, is that about what you can expect from here, or do you think that can go up? Kind of where you at with her?
Yeah, well, it goes up depending on her, and how productive she is. But I thought she looked great. She's played a total of 14 minutes in 2 years. So I think anything we get out of Kennedy is a bonus. I like just her presence on the court. And, I love the fact that she took that open 15-footer. I mean, that's what she can do really well. So, good on her. And now she's going back home. I'm glad we were able to get her a few minutes on Sunday so that her first action wasn't in her hometown, But, it's great to have her back.
How hard is it going to be kind of until you guys get her full go again, just to be rolling with 7 until you get her or at least back?
Yeah, well, I think this time of year, and we've talked about this before, I think everybody shortens their rotation. So the fact we're only playing 7 or 8, so is everybody right now in the big games. We just don't have the 9 or 10 or 11 to fill in case of injuries or things like that. So we've got our work cut out for us, no question. Everybody has to be on every game. We can't have anybody having a bad game. That's the negative of having a short bench. But hopefully everybody will be healthy. We pray every day for it, and we'll see.
Winning at home is important, but how important would it be for your team to get 2 wins on the road, being the environment of the Pac-12 for women's basketball?
Yeah, well, anytime you win on the road, that's a bonus, and we already gave one away at home, so we need to make one up somewhere, and this would be a great place to start. But we know that it's going to be difficult, and but if we come to play, we can play and beat anybody in the conference. So, yeah, road wins are always a premium in Power 5 conferences.
I know this is a very different team than last year, but you guys started off the Pac-12 season really hot with some really great wins. I think one of them was against Arizona. Just how do you plan on kind of keeping that momentum and carrying it all the way through the conference season?
One game at a time. We played well on Sunday, and we just want to build upon that and hope to get one on Friday and then build on that. So that's all you can do. If you get too far ahead of yourself and worry about this or that, I'd prefer to play better at the end of the year, where we started the conference last year pretty well and then kind of slid toward the end. I'd rather have it the other way around if I had a choice.
For as good as the league is, Kelly, there hasn't been a lot of great coaching rivalries. You and Scott certainly have a pretty good one going, but I think you and Adia might be the most heated, or has been the most heated. Like, you and Tara get along so well, it's, there's rivalries on the court, but not, to that level. Yeah. Do you embrace that reality that this has turned into a thing over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I don't know. It was one incident, I think, last year that kind of got blown out of proportion a little bit. I don't really worry about that. I think Adia and I are good. I'm really good with all my coaching colleagues in the conference. You mentioned Tara. We're 2 of the senior coaches, so yeah, we align on a lot of stuff, and I really have come to appreciate her. it's not about us. It's about the 10 players that are playing on the court, and that's how we have to keep it.
For the players, and how do they go about trying to contain Pellington and what she brings?
Well, I mean, yeah, she's among the quickest guards in the country. You just, got to keep that kid in front of you. They have a lot of weapons. It's kind of funny, Arizona, not to get too far ahead, I should only talk about Arizona State, but since I won't see you guys again, I might as well. They're really offensive minded. That's kind of been their I guess, weakness the last couple of years. They're so good defensively, and they're still good defensively, but they can now score. And that's what makes them different. They got a lot of guys that can score, and in the past, that just wasn't the case. So, yeah, you got to outscore them and know that you're going to see great defense. That's why they're so tough in the desert.
Did it bother you last year, the incident with Padilla turned into as big of a thing as it did?
Well, it did. Yeah, it's all right. That was a year ago. I'm not really focusing on that. I hadn't actually thought about it until you guys asked me.
I know Taya has already posted on social media about the game. What have your conversations with her been like going back to her old school?
Yeah, to be honest with you, today was the first practice that we've had. First time we've been together since we played on Sunday, so I haven't really had a chance to talk to her about it. And to be honest with you, I think she only has 2 or 3 of her former teammates that are still on the team. It's a new coaching staff, so it's not really the same as maybe it would be in a normal situation of a transfer. So I just like how she played on Sunday. She needs to duplicate that on Friday night back in her old stomping grounds.
There's Kelly Graves meeting with the media, 5 o'clock tonight against Arizona State. Stay tuned. Some news around the University of Oregon. We'll get to it after this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the Lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Wrapping up here on a Friday, thanks for being here with us on Duck Insider. Have a great weekend filled with Duck athletics. Actually, a pretty newsy day or two here around Eugene. Let's hit a couple things before we get out of here. And we'll start with track and field. Coach Jerry Schumacher bolstering his staff, adding Chris Zielinski, a former American record holder at the 10,000 meters. He's going to join the program as an assistant coach for the Ducks distance crew. That was announced today. Zielinski coming to Eugene after 5 seasons as an assistant coach at the University of Florida. And when he was a collegiate athlete, 2003 to 2007, a 5-time NCAA champion. Welcome to Eugene, Chris Zielinski. That's a great addition to that staff. And then a huge transfer for Oregon volleyball and Coach Ulmer getting one of the best players in the country as a grad transfer and in addition to the Ducks 2023 roster. Kara McGee, welcome to Eugene. Began her career at Baylor, comes as a 3-time All Big 12 performer and an AVCA All-America honorable mention. A standout season last year. 6'5" middle blocker, career high 3.25 points per set. Almost 2.5 kills per set last season, hit .368, and helped Baylor to a 25-7 record. You can honestly say led Baylor to a 25-7 record and a trip to the Sweet 16 last year. Welcome to Eugene. 8th in the NCAA with 1.49 blocks per set. Should help offensively and defensively. And then lastly, one more piece of news from earlier this week. Head coach Graham Abel announcing an assistant addition to the coaching staff. Sean Mapson being named to that role. Previously an assistant coach at Idaho, where he was hugely impactful and helped Idaho become one of the best defensive teams in the country. The Vandals, they were 18th in the country in goals against average in 2022, and Idaho had one of their best seasons ever, 12-3-3 last season, advanced to the Big Sky Conference Tournament Championship game. That's good to see. Sean Mapson, I think he's going to be a fit for this program both on and off the field, and he has the ability to connect with athletes, help with recruiting, whatever. So 3 great pieces of news. Next week, we'll start getting into news about baseball and softball, some transfers, Oregon baseball, just a sneak peek. They're in the top 25 in a whole lot of preseason rankings. So we'll get to that when Joey's back with us next week. Thanks for having me in this week. Big weekend of Oregon athletics. It starts tonight at 5 o'clock with Oregon traveling to Tempe, Arizona to face the Sun Devils. Big game. Even bigger Sunday, 4 o'clock against number 15 Arizona, a chance for a signature win. And then a chance for a mountain split for the men tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I believe it is. Yeah, 4 o'clock against Utah. They're undefeated in conference. Ducks trying to play spoiler in Salt Lake City. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Scott. Thanks to Mitchell. We'll get out of here. And as always, go Ducks.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes! So much waiting for me, yeah.